Welcome to Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation possible. You will get to hear from CSIA system integrators and industry partners to get a better understanding of how they help their clients solve process challenges and how they've earned success in their careers. Along the way, we will touch on system integration best practices, technology, trends, and challenges. Whether you are a manufacturer, end user, supplier, or system integrator, you will enjoy the insights these industry professionals bring to this podcast. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Lisa Richter, the host of Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation and processing possible. In today's episode, we're talking industrial automation with Joe Mazzola, who is the general manager for McHenry Automation. In this role, he leads engineering teams to achieve significant improvements in production efficiency, cost reduction, and quality across diverse industries, including water and wastewater, food and beverage, consumer packaged goods, oil and gas, and specialty chemicals. McHenry Automation is headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri, but also has an additional location in Kansas City. Prior to joining McHenry Automation, Joe found his passion for automation and controls while at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers serving as a co-op. Joe, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Let's start at the beginning. Tell me how you got started.
Sure. So, long time ago, seems like it's forever ago, but my journey began at Missouri University of Science and Technology. At the time, it was the University of Missouri-Rolla. There, I was studying electrical and computer engineering. And one thing that Missouri S&T does really well is really promotes their co-op program and challenges all the engineers to try to take a co-op before graduating. And to this day, I couldn't remember how that co-op happened. But I ended up at the Army Corps of Engineers, as you mentioned. And my only really big project there was working on a recontrol of a lock and dam here in St. Louis, or just up the river. And that kind of really sparked my interest. I was like, hey, this is really neat stuff. Before that, I was just like, I know I want to be an engineer. I want to do engineering things, but didn't know what it was. So once I found automation, I went back to Rolla the following semester, started taking some classes more focused in automation. And that following summer, I ended up taking a internship with McHenry just to get some other experience, more on the private side than on the government side. And there really found what felt like home as a great group of engineers, good group of customers to work with. So I graduated in December of 2008 and started here full-time at McHenry in January of 2009, full-time as a controls engineer. Over my time, I moved from doing the work to helping manage projects of small to medium scale, moving up to bigger and bigger projects, and then, moved up into helping lead a team of engineers and eventually engineering manager. And now with the latest changes, I've moved into general manager for the organization. Overall, it's been a rewarding process for me. It's allowed me to grow alongside the company over the last almost 20 years.
Yeah, that's quite a progression. Good for you. So let's talk a little bit more about McHenry Automation, kind of how it began and maybe how it evolved.
Sure, right. So before my time, Mike and Kevin McHenry founded the company in '93. They started the company with some local giants here in the St. Louis manufacturing space. Some of them they had worked for and then quit those roles and then became contractors for those companies. And they worked over the years to build strong relationships within those organizations. And as people left those organizations, we continued to chase them other places. We liked working with those folks. And so we continued to work with them at the other places they went to. And ultimately use that, those long-standing customer relationships over the last few years as our solid base while we go into new markets and new customers. So kind of when I stepped into the leadership role here at McHenry, I kind of saw the opportunity to help Mike and Kevin focus on kind of succession planning, the bigger picture for the business. They were going to retire before I was. I was just starting my career, and they were a few years ahead of me. And so started working with them me and a couple other engineers to find ways to position ourselves for more of the long-term success. And one of those things was actually we've gotten connected with CSIA. And overall, in the St. Louis area, below you, we've seen a lot of changes in the ecosystem integrator space. There was some St. Louis as a hotbed for system integrators. We've seen a lot of them go through their wave of mergers and acquisitions and transitions in the last 5 or so years. And through it all, even as Mike and Kevin retired, our focus remains on consistent quality.
Tell me a little bit, quantify the growth for me. So obviously it started out with Mike and Kevin in the early 90s. Now we're in the, I don't know, almost middle of the, where were we? What year is it? I don't even know. But over those decades, really, they went from 2 guys to 2 offices, but put that in perspective for me.
Yeah, sure. So, they pretty early on realized that they weren't going to be able to do this alone. And they brought on a team. We went from two to 5 to 5 to 10, 10 to 15. And we kind of plateaued there for a while. We definitely hit a, kind of our plateau for a little bit of time there. And it's, due to a multitude of factors. But I think the CSIA certification kind of helped to start to put processes in place so that we could continue to grow past that to where we are now. So now we have 25, and actually we're going through a little bit of a growth period here. And we got in the next month or two, we got about another 5 coming on. So a couple interns and a few full time. So we'll be approaching the 30 mark here before too much longer.
I love to hear that. And it's a fairly typical story arc for system integrators where they start out 1 or 2 guys, find a plateau, need a little oomph, a little push over the top, and eventually hopefully get there. So Congratulations also on getting through the audits. Oh my goodness, I'm sure that's very stressful, but so helpful and useful for maintaining and growing the business. Amazing. So we talked a little bit about in the intro about some of the industries that you're in, but is there one that you really specialize in, or is there a product or discipline? And if so, why or why not?
I think for sure, from maybe a little bit on my bias too, on just the stuff I've worked on, I feel like is our sweet spot, but definitely where we focus heavily on is process automation and everything from brownfield improvements on an existing facility or greenfield projects, more so than discrete manufacturing. That's where most of our expertise lies. That's where most of our experience is. Now that process automation could be in water, could be in food and beverage, brewing, manufacturing. We strongly focus in process automation. And ultimately, particularly whoever is needed for us to do the work, right? Whether it's the end user themselves, we may be working through an engineering firm, we may be working with the OEM who's providing the equipment to the end user. We've worked through the general contractor who's installing equipment. We've come about it from every single angle to whatever it takes to be able to get in and get the projects done for our customers. For me, and I speak more broadly for the company, but I think the majority of us are electrical engineers by degree. And so I think for us, it's easy to correlate product flowing through a pipe to current flowing through a wire, for some of us anyways. And so I think that helps it make it easier for our engineers to understand the controls and automation of process. So, and then all of us, I think we like to see all of our various products and enjoy them, whether we're making a beer or making soap, going home and doing some dishes after we finish a successful startup, or spraying the new cleaning scent on the floor to get it clean. It's always fun to get to see that, hey, this is a thing I made. I went to the Target and bought a bottle of this stuff and used it on the floor, and it smells cool, and it looks good, does a good job, and all that stuff. So, one thing I've kind of always toyed around with is whenever you walk into a manufacturing facility too, right? You get into the main entrance of the plant, not the contractor gate that we usually go through where they're just hiding us and shuffling us in through the back. But whenever you're having those big important meetings, they always have the displays up front on the wall with all the various products that they make, and kind of pipe more time in the day or pipe dream here. But I want to do something similar at our office, but we also probably don't have enough space to fit all of those things that we've seen come to market over the years, and pick and choose which ones are worth hanging on the wall to that end. And then as far as products, most of the control systems we work on heavily are obviously doing a lot of work in the U.S. So Rockwell-based controls, a little more agnostic on the HMI side of things. We really let decisions get driven by customers. We inform them; they ultimately are the decision makers. But we've done it all from Factory Talk View, Wonderware, Ignition, and iFix, the Factory Link, Iconics. There's plenty of them in there. Heavily, again, with process automation, we do a lot with the batch software, such as Factory Talk Batch as well in that space. And kind of big picture, as we look ahead to continue to grow our organization, we've brought on Chris Horsfield, who's our Chief Technology Officer, and really looking to expand our offerings and capabilities around ERP integrations. We've done some of them over the years ourselves, but relying heavily on the customer's ERP team to work with them. And so Chris is there to kind of help us translate ERP to control systems engineers and kind of help us better bridge that gap.
Are you a system integrator looking to level up your industrial software skills? Want to connect with 8,000 plus global peers doing the same? Then Heroes HQ is your next mission. Hi, I'm Rachel Dwinell, HMI SCADA Technical Community Development Lead here at Aviva and the admin of Heroes HQ, your go-to hub for all things technical in HMI SCADA and MES. Heroes HQ is a free global community platform built to empower system integrators and industrial software engineers through cutting-edge tools, expert insights, and hands-on learning. From interactive forums and tech training to real-world success stories and global events, this is your space to ask, learn, contribute, and lead. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned expert, it's time to power up your skills and connect with fellow heroes all across the world. Your knowledge, your growth, your technical superpower. Join us today at softwareforums.aviva.com/heroes-HQ. See you there.
So I'm curious to hear about the challenges your customers are facing right now.
Sure. So there's a few that I can think of, right? Right now, the biggest one top of mind for me is kind of flexibility. In the world we live in, it's always about the new shiny object, right? There's go down the beer aisle or the yogurt aisle or the cereal aisle. There's ever-growing number of changes and new products that are available. And the manufacturing facilities are just expected to, on the flip of a switch, be able to produce some new flavor. Go from cha-cha chocolate one day to some fruity the next day, right? And historically, those projects were always, hey, we've got this large CapEx project, and we're going to put this new line in that makes this particular thing. But obviously, that's not always cost effective, and where it makes sense, they're trying to do more with less, right? So the project we're working a lot on is delivering projects that are future-proof, that can be flexible for future systems to be tied in, so that it's not hard-coded in some place that this can only ever do this thing. It's about flexibility in the systems. I was actually just on my drive in this morning, and I saw a new announcement of a new flavor on a billboard on the drive in, and I was like, or bringing back an old flavor that they had that I know we haven't worked on in a while. And I was like, oh, hey, is there some work? And so I was talking to one of our engineers, and I was like, hey, we got any work going on with that product coming back out? And they told us that the last project we did, we put in this new blend skid that was basically fully dynamic, and they just flip a few switches, plug in a few different ingredients, and it's back up and running their product as it did before. So it's like, oh, well, great.
Yeah. You talked yourself out of a job, or you worked yourself out of a job.
So, another big one in my mind is really the struggle with obsolescence. And my CTO has taught me the word technical debt, what they call it in the IT side of things, which is what this is, right? A lot of systems out there have been installed, and they're running on old PLC 5, still running Windows XP. There's some customers that still have PLC 3s, and we work well with those customers. We help to identify those risks to them because some sites may not be aware. Some of them have probably heard us telling them that for the last 20 years, and one of these times they're gonna bite on it. But we help be proactive and to help them develop roadmaps to get them out of those situations that they're in. Right? It's not a overnight. Well, this thing failed, and let's just replace it with this thing, and we're up and running the next morning. It's a process. We try our best to find ways to stage systems in parallel to minimize disruptions in production as much as possible, but that doesn't always work as well. And kind of, we always try to do our best to do thorough testing to ensure that, everything is accounted for and it works as it should before we go live with the new system. And then kind of, again, back on the point of bringing Chris on, but the biggest challenge that I see is continuing to integrate plant floor data into the business systems, helping more of that plant floor data get to the business people who are making the decisions and making sure they understand, they have all the information they need to make those decisions. In some areas, they struggle to get clean, contextualized data up from the control layer up into the MES system or ERP, and we help kind of step in and bridge that gap. Again on the ERP side with Chris, who got some of that background and smarts in that stuff. It's makes it easier for us to have those conversations with their team where we didn't have that intimate knowledge before.
So you mentioned that you have managed to grow your business. How much of your business would you say is repeat, if you can quantify that? And if so, what do they return?
Sure. Yeah. I think a significant portion of our baseline business, 50, 75, probably 75% of our business is repeat. And or it's a customer who left their facility and went to go work somewhere else and are bringing us into a new location. So I count that as kind of repeat, those relationships we built. So, but our two or three largest customers have been with us for the entire 30 plus year history of McHenry. So I think overall that's a testament to the relationships we've built over time and consistency. Part of what's kept me here for as long as I have been. So the why they return, it's, I think we're one of the CSIA things is trying to capture feedback at end of project. We are so guilty of we got this project done, let's move on to the next one. So we're trying to do a better job of capturing feedback through project wrap-up meetings and things like that. But, informally, I think the reasons they come back, and we just got some customer feedback yesterday from one of our engineers. They like working with our engineers. We give them straight answers. We try to focus on, hey, this is what you want to do, but here's from our experience, here's why that's a bad idea. Or hey, here's some compromises. If you do it this way, that's kind of incorporates your things, but also gets some of our things in there, ends up with a better product for them. We don't just say, this is what you want to do, we're going to go off and do that thing. Or this is what you want to do, but we're not going to do that. We're going to do something completely different. We try to work with them to get to what's successful for all of us. And the other thing I think that I commend my guys for regularly is that they don't disappear when things get hard, right? So often we get done with projects and then the customer tries to call and says, hey, we need support. And I think they fail to get support when they need it. And our guys are always there to answer the phone. They make the problem theirs. They try to own it as much as they can and help them get back up and running, even on equipment we may not have commissioned in the plant, but hey, we got this other thing over here. We need to get it running. It's down. Our guys will help to figure out what's wrong. Some of our engineers are ingrained in those specific plants too, that they're providing the day-to-day support while delivering on the project. So kind of added value for the customer that, hey, we're there doing work on these projects, but if something comes up, we can pause what we're working on, go out there, wiggle some wires with you, try to help troubleshoot what's going on and get you back up and running, and then go back to our projects. And I think that helps both us and the customers out. Our team has a better knowledge of the day-to-day issues that are faced in a plant to make sure that the things we're implementing next don't have those same issues or don't, address those things that they're fighting on the daily, right? And at the end of the day, I think our engineers, the better we make our customers look, the better the more chance they're going to bring us back. And looking ahead, our growth within those organizations, it hinges on, expanding our offerings, helping them solve new problems that they're having. They're implementing new technologies regularly. Ultimately, I think they understand the value our engineers bring to the table. Our deep knowledge of their existing systems allow us to continue those successful projects for them.
So we talked a little bit about the evolution of McHenry, but let's focus a little bit more specifically on the recent history, like the past year or so, what's changed, and also maybe looking forward to the next 12 to 24 months. What does your crystal ball say?
Yeah, crystal ball. I'd love to have. So the past couple of years, we've been in this transitional period with Mike and Kevin kind of stepping back, retiring, and not necessarily knowing all of the things that they did over. We were ignorance is bliss, I think is the saying, right? There, hey, there were things they were doing that we weren't aware of, and things like that. So, like other technical organizations, small companies of our size, sales wasn't our strong skill. And so it took some time to kind of get through that awkwardness, help our engineers better understand what their role in the sales is, helping to solve the problem, not making it hey, I'm selling you on something, but hey, you're staying in contact with the people you enjoyed working with on your projects. You're helping them solve new problems. And these guys just stepped up majorly, took on the challenge of taking on some more of the seller doer mentality than before. And they were doing, all of them to some extent were doing it, but I think we engaged more with them to help take on some more of that. And right, that 2 year ago timeframe as Mike and Kevin were transitioning out was also a weird period of time where there was just a lack of a kind of a slowness in the economy then as well. So it was we were all trying to put our sales hats on while we really needed sales hats. So, but we got through it. In that same time frame in the last year, the first year of the transition, we took on renewing our CSIA membership. It was time for it to get done. And so I survived my first audit as a general manager, which I had always been part of the audits over time, whether it was just the project manager section or maybe a little bit broader. But there are a lot of sections that I didn't even sit in on. And then all of a sudden I was asked all of these other questions. And we had a broader team that we brought in there to help out with all of those aspects of the audit, from the finance, the HR, the IT, all of those different pieces. I was just kind of ignorant to before, didn't have the purview, didn't need to because it wasn't part of my job title. And so it's definitely helped give me a better understanding of other aspects of the business outside of just leading teams. Fun is not the first word I would use to describe it, but the audits are always a good time. As much as they're painful, they're a good chance to question things again before the audit too. But it gives us some things to focus on for the next few years. Again, going forward in the next couple of years, crystal ball, we got ambitious goals for growth. Largely we've been focused on being your old school traditional SI. And more of the customers, everybody's asking for the easy button, sourcing the instrumentation, designing, building, installing control panels, mechanical design, process design, all of the things. And so we're focused on continuing to find ways within our existing footprint to be the easy button, find the partners who we can work with to help deliver on those things for our customers.
Hi, Lisa. Danny, tell the good people who you are and why you're here.
Sure. I'm the Director of Digital Learning at CSIA, and I'm here to tell you about the new CSIA Learning Hub, a professional development platform specifically designed for system integrators by system integrators.
Sounds amazing. I hear all the time how challenging it is to find content for system integrators so they can get their people up to speed quickly.
And the content is exceptional, I will say. We've worked with system integrators to create over 20 curated playlists covering essential skills at every level. We have content for team members who need the basics, as well as content for those advancing their expertise. Our skill levels range from building awareness all the way to practicing, entry level to seasoned professional.
Tell me more.
Well, it's an online platform, which means it's super flex. Teams can access training and learn at their own pace, which should be a given in today's digital environment. But what is unique is that each organization gets a customized training site. So learning managers can track progress, generate reports, and really see how their team is developing. So you'll use what CSIA built as a foundation, but from there, you can really customize the experience for your team.
So let's go back to the part where you said it was built for SIs by SIs. How was the content sourced and vetted?
That is a great question. So our playlist curation was led by Eric Schaefer, a true subject matter expert with over 20 years of experience in the system integration space. His expertise guided the selection, organization, and skill level alignment for each playlist. Think of it like Spotify. All the content is there, but imagine having a personal DJ who spent over 20 years getting to know your preferences and tailoring the perfect playlist just for you.
Okay, that sounds super useful for onboarding and developing employees. What's the catch? Is it super expensive?
Not at all. Introductory pricing is just $900 for 2025. With that, you get 4 active learner accounts and a learning manager license.
That's a really great value. There still must be some sort of catch.
No, there really isn't. Well, except that you do have to be a member of CSIA to be able to participate.
Where can people go to find out more?
They can visit www.controlsys.org/learning-hub.
Thank you, Danny.
You're very welcome, Lisa.
Yeah, I think our everyday lives are really influencing our business lives too, because everything's gotten so easy and everything else. I just had to order a new water heater. I literally called this company. Next day they're here. They completed all the permits. They did everything. All I had to do was make that phone call. And I think we're starting to see maybe in business, people are wanting that easy button, like you said. They don't want to deal with all the details. Don't bring me problems, bring me solutions.
Yes. Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that too. So a local HVAC company here, my co-host was just telling me this morning, but their phone number, when you call them now, is actually an AI bot that you can talk to. And they said it can solve most problems, either get you on the schedule to get looked at type of things, or escalate you to a real person. So they're starting to use AI in call center now as well. It's interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel like that.
That was my reaction too. Like, it's interesting.
Oh, good times, good times. All right. So how do you approach building a partner network to support projects outside your expertise?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but we stay close with our customers. We try to make time outside of our project wrap-up meetings, outside of the ongoing project meetings, to really understand where their business is headed, what technologies they're exploring, what problems they're trying to solve for in the future. And from there, we kind of assess, hey, is this something that we feel like our engineers can solve themselves, or do we need to bring in outside help on? Do we have partners that can help facilitate those conversations on our behalf? And so when we're kind of looking for those partners to help us solve outside of our comfort zones, we always try to focus on those that, we've either worked with them before or come highly recommended from one of our engineers that have worked with them in the past. The folks who understand how we operate, share similar values. Right? If we've worked closely with them, we know how they operate. They know how we operate. Know that they have the ability to deliver quality work, and building that network is critical, so that when the time comes, we're ready to execute projects together seamlessly, make it easy for our customers and easy for us. So.
100%. All right. McHenry is a CSIA certified integrator. If your customer asks, or if somebody asks why they should hire a CSIA certified integrator, what would you tell them?
Yeah, this is a good question too, right? This is, and we've tried to steer our customers to making it that CSIA certification is a requirement for them. I don't think we've actually gotten anyone to bite on that, but there's 2 real benefits that I see. Better outcomes for everyone, our customers, and then a better outcome for our engineers. It starts with the engineers, right? The certification makes sure we have structure in place, to have the processes in place to execute projects. And I always, when I'm meeting with the new hires, when we're bringing them on the first day, we're talking through all of these things. I always point out, hey, we've got the set of procedures, and if you don't follow it, you're less likely to succeed than if you do. Like we've refined these process over the years. I'm not saying they're perfect. Definitely open to interpretation and definitely open to continued improvement, right? Like hire somebody new and this isn't how I would do it. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's evaluate it. But ultimately gives them some framework to work within, right? Engineers really don't like the ambiguous. They like facts and figures, right? So and it helps them. They're not stuck reinventing the wheel, knowing that they've got things to reference to get the job done and don't have to start from solving the base problem. So it just creates an overall work environment where engineers can be successful and grow and really be focused on solving the problems, not trying to learn something or develop a process. And then the success of our engineers really ultimately translates to success for our customers, right? The CSIA certification signals we're implementing best practices in our industry, from project management, quality assurance, cybersecurity, financial stability. We're not just good at the technical work, but we've got systems in place to ensure we deliver projects successfully and consistently. When they know we've tested things prior to startup and have had time to think through and address all of the major issues prior to showing up for startup, and engaging the customer along the way to ensure it's going to meet all of their needs. These ensure the startup ultimately goes well, which is when it's most critical. Been on enough startups where we're working alongside others and they're like, oh, I'm programming this today. And I'm like, we programmed this a month ago and we've tested it. And we know this is ready to go. And now we're working with this thing that I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
but that allows us then to focus on those people. Okay, let's help you figure this out. Let's get this ready to go so that we're all in a better spot. So
Yeah, ultimately it reduces risk, and we know how risk adverse most engineers are, right?
Yes, and right, the lowers the stress for everybody, and there's enough stress in life. We don't need more, and startups are stressful enough. So
100%, 100%. So you mentioned the wide range of projects you've been able to work on throughout your career. Is there one that really stands out to you? Like, you just really got your juices flowing, just hit everything like just right, chef's kiss?
Yeah. Man, there's a handful of them, but one I always go. It's kind of a pair of projects, but basically worked with an OEM to build up a development proof of concept R&D skid for a beer manufacturer. There was this new process. They weren't really sure they knew how microbrewers were doing it, and they didn't know how to make it something that we could turn into full-on production for a major manufacturer. And so we did a small proof of concept skid at a microbrewer, and this skid had 4 different ways that it could work. So I programmed these 4 different modes that it could do for this process. And they're like, well, they weren't sure which one was actually going to work. We took it out there. We started this thing up. We tried all 4 modes, and they said, this is the best mode. This is the one we need. But we've already bought and installed one over here. We were betting this other mode, mode B, was better than mode A. And we've already bought and installed it in this big manufacturing facility. So now we just have to figure out how to tweak this thing to make it work like this mode. And so then we took it up to scale up at a major manufacturing, on the major manufacturing side to kind of make it work there. It was a lot of long nights and that, but it was definitely a very cool project to get to work.
Yeah, it sounds super rewarding.
Yes. And then at the end of the day, the beer was made and we all got to enjoy it. So
yeah. All right. So wrapping up here, I have one final question for you. What 3 podcasts or books would you recommend?
Obviously, this podcast is great. Being my entire career has been at McHenry, I don't have much exposure to other systems integrators. So opportunities to hear from others in the industry and how people are doing things. It's really good. So I'm glad myself to join. I'm glad others join and contribute, willing to share with one another. And I've similarly our peer group. I've joined Exotech, who does our CSIA audits. They offer peer groups. And so now I've gotten to join one of their peer groups where I meet with other people with a similar role, similar company size as me, and get to have conversations and kind of share those pain points, lessons learned, best practices. Hey, you're going after doing this way. Check out this instead. I think the saying is the rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta believe that, we're all better together. We're, as much as we're here to compete against each other, that's not it. It's really about we enjoy doing automation and controls, and we're going to do whatever we can to make it better. So second and third that I have, kind of biased towards St. Louis maybe, but Chris Lukey hosts a manufacturing happy hour, right? He's been on here. You've been on there? Or you guys?
I think he was before I was host. Back in the beginning of the podcast, he was on there. But I've seen him around. I see him on LinkedIn all over the place. See him at all the shows. He's everywhere.
His energy is unmatched. He's constantly bringing on new, interesting guests, keeping things fresh. Again, another way for me to get some insight from the industry. So his format is so natural seeming, right? It's very much similar to a late night talk show type interview. Very, very casual and approachable. Second one would be the manufacturing executive put on by Joe Mazzola, the team at Gorilla 76. They focus more on the marketing side of things, which is again another area where I'm not my strong suit. I like, even being from a technical background, how they can make things very understandable. I know you said 3, but I have a bonus one as well.
Go for it.
There's one out there called F3 Nation. They've also in St. Louis got one called the Gateway Podcast. F3 is a fitness organization, focuses on leadership development as well. I used to be a lot more active with them before kids and everything else. And I still see them when I'm out for my runs in the parks from time to time. But it's a good group of guys just trying to be better people, fathers, leaders, husbands. It's definitely something that helped me grow through some times in my life, and not often that you get all of that completely for free. So it's definitely worth a listen there as well. And the F3 is specifically for guys, but there is a women's equivalent for called Females in Action, I believe. That's kind of the same thing, but women led. Very awesome.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Talking Industrial Automation. If you are interested in learning more about Joe or McHenry Automation, you can find them on the CSIA Industrial Automation Exchange at www.csiaexchange.com. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Joe, for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also really help the show by leaving a review and sharing with colleagues. We're all just slaves to the logarithm now, so I gotta ask. Thanks for listening to the Talking Industrial Automation podcast. Thanks also to bensound.com and Wistia for the music bumpers. Until next time.